evening. There's a famous quote which says, change is the only constant in life. Businesses need to change not only for the growth, but for the existence as well. I'm sure you will all agree with me that we have seen several changes and challenges in various businesses in Bahrain and globally. From small business to enterprise level of growth, from paper-based to paperless, from physical to virtual. Yes, we have seen the transition, but with some sort of slow pace or at time with less importance in many scenarios. But come the current era of COVID-19, the era of curse or blessing, yet to be decided. Nevertheless, COVID-19 broke the status quo and many businesses that were not fully online. It gave a boost to almost all the businesses to rethink, think online, think e-commerce, and even think smart. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your moderator for this session, and I welcome you all to track 4 of virtual Bahrain online conference and exhibition with the theme, the e-commerce new normal post-COVID-19. Today, we have 4 professional speakers and panelists who will be sharing their experience and advices. They will also respond to your queries and questions during the panel discussion. Let me remind you, each speaker is given 15 minutes for his or her speech. Kindly keep posting your question and answer in the tab provided to you for posting your questions so that we can take all the questions during the panel discussion. With this, let me invite our first speaker. Our first speaker is the Chief Engagement Officer at Acutute Group, which is a global digital consultancy firm. The company focuses on 3 principal areas: talent, communications, and digital. Let me remind you, the company is also the training partner for the Bahrain eCommerce Academy in partnership with Think Smart, Tamkeen, and the Ministry of Commerce, Tourism Industry in Bahrain. Our speaker will be talking about the new normal, implication of B2B and B2C companies, and how to achieve competitive differentiation in a digitally minded marketplace, and how can they pivot and create a digital transformation reality. Please welcome Ms. Christina Yondes, Chief Engagement Officer at Acutute, with her presentation title, The E-Commerce with New Normal Post-COVID-19. Ms. Christina, floor is all yours. Please note you have 15 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jalal, and thank you very much for attempting to pronounce my surname. Commendable. I will share my screen with you. If you can confirm you can see this slide. A nod would be fine.
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Thank you for the thumbs up. So I've got about 14 minutes to talk about the e-commerce new normal post COVID-19. I'll do my best to cover everything because as you very rightly mentioned, Mr. Jalal, it has been a phase of serious transformation. So digital disruption, not just do we all wear face masks, everything has changed for everybody. So who are the COVID-19 digital winners? Because there have been winners, serious winners, as well as some losers. What are the implications for both B2B and B2C companies? And we'll talk about how companies can achieve competitive differentiation in a digitally minded marketplace. This is one thing that COVID-19 has done, is made us all digitally minded. Finally, how can companies pivot and make digital transformation a reality? Which will be my kind of closing remarks. So here we go. Strap yourselves in. Who are the COVID-19 winners? So when we talk about the COVID-19 winners, it's all about being at the right place, right time, or best prepared, or maybe the fastest or able to adapt. And we have the winners being contactless payments, video conferencing, Zoom. I believe the owner of Zoom is now a billionaire. And optometrists, believe it or not, one of our clients in Bahrain specifically saw the boom of special types of lenses for screens actually increasing in demand. So the e-commerce categories that have really boosted are things like bread machines, home fitness. You may be aware of a company, an American startup from 4 years ago called Peloton has become a multi-billion-dollar business. Power generators, computer monitors, and the picture on the screen, popcorn, they've all gone up exponentially. In fact, in the GCC specifically, e-commerce is aimed at reaching $19.7 billion by the end of 2020, with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the UAE making the two largest markets. And in all my experience with all our clients, we have seen most businesses also talk about a change in consumer behavior, which is one of the things that Mr. Hujeri will also talk about in a few moments, so I won't touch upon it in great depth. So what are the new fundamentals of doing business on e-commerce today? The only constant, as we know it, is change. Disruption is the new normal. So the idea of external factors, what are called black swan events, that COVID-19 was a black swan event, are a reality. We've hit it. We're there. And so what we've had to do as businesses, all of us, there are no business that has been left untouched. We've had to revisit our fundamentals, the internal factors, things such as our strengths and weaknesses from an internal perspective, but also our opportunities and threats externally. We've had to revisit the way we do business from beginning to end, but also how we service our customers and the ultimate customer value proposition. So those of us who are reliant on retail only, and I'm talking about physical retail, we've had to completely shift to digital only from one day to the next, and find ways where we could, for example, add detailing and add processes that will reassure our customers, particularly relating to hygiene and sanitation. So when we take this into consideration, one of the things, and I love this quote, one of the things that we saw is a complete laser-like focus on what is the ultimate benefit that we provide our customers. So this is where, as businesses, we've all had to, and if we've not already done this, we would recommend that this is what businesses do going forward. What is the ultimate customer proposition or the benefit that you provide? And I love this quote here, which says, one thing about a crisis like this, it's inspiring to see the amount of creativity and energy it's unleashed in our startups, making radical, ambitious product choices, laser focused on customer outcomes versus their own processes. Wartime CEOs are efficient CEOs. And so this is one of the realities that we've had within the new normal. How can we all be wartime and efficient CEOs? The next thing that has come to the fore and is the new normal is the enabling technology. So we've had acceleration of trends of things that were already happening in a kind of a drip feed manner. Now they're accessible to everyone. And we've seen companies such as IKEA, who already did augmented reality in e-commerce in Saudi, for example. They've now moved into actually doing, using technology from abroad, doing virtual walkings through their warehouse-styled outlets, if you like, online. And so this is a completely different reality. We're now blending the virtual with reality. We're also seeing a lot more use of things like chatbots. Chatbots from a customer were ultimately conceived for a customer service perspective. Now they've become a daily reality in relation to supporting customers through their purchase processes. So these are things that have been accelerated. They've been in the back of our minds as marketeers and as business owners, but COVID-19 has really pushed them to the forefront. And then we've already got the accessible to many, the virtual reality things, as I mentioned, about IKEA in Saudi. So these things are actually happening, and they've really pushed us to become a little bit more technical. So those of us who are not proficient in a technical or a digital manner, we've had to really dig deep and learn about things like big data. So the ability to use numbers and metrics to drive decision making, Internet of Things, the connecting of various technologies to provide experiences and also propositions that are different and more automated. And then ultimately, we've had things which is an augmentation of big data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. These are all things that are things, they're not people. Things don't sleep. And one of the things that actually came out quite quickly in COVID-19 is we can make investments in technology, but what do we do with our people? In fact, this has been one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight this, the new normal. We need to consider going forward, there's implications for our talent, for our people in terms of, are they up to date with the latest technologies? Are they going to be one day obsolete? And there's a picture here of a robot. I am not suggesting that we are not going to have people working in businesses, but what I am suggesting is looking how companies are actually supporting their talent in becoming skilled in these new areas, which globally there will be a shortage of talent experts on. So this is what we also need to consider in the new normal. What do we do with our people, with our talent? And ultimately, all of these issues have applications, and I'm talking about the technology here, which are around e-commerce, the automation of e-commerce. And we've seen, for example, the beautiful things that Amazon is doing globally, but we're also seeing new concepts when it comes to marketing, even conferences, as we're seeing with this virtual Bahrain conference. We're seeing the virtual world coming to the fore. So from a marketing perspective, it's all about virtual trade shows, virtual conferences, and there's a greater focus on content marketing, content development, search engine optimization, all this stuff that in the past we knew was important, now is coming again to be ultimately the reality for us going forward. And so let's consider that. What do businesses have to do in order to kind of maintain themselves in the new normal? And here's a little checklist that we've pulled together as a business, and we say to our clients, we have to revisit our e-commerce value proposition in the new reality. It's not enough to say we just do e-commerce and you can buy something and you can have it in a week's time. Customers today expect expediency, they will expect it to be quick, and they also expect it to be safely delivered. And that means sanitation, hygiene, but also the products themselves being delivered in a way that there is no contact. So we have to focus on what are the desired business and customer outcomes. So maintaining a laser focus, as was said on the quote that I shared with you earlier, on what customers want as well as the outcomes that we want as a business. Then we need to evaluate our capabilities. And as we mentioned, we're as Mr. Jalal mentioned, we are the partners for the Bahrain e-commerce Academy. We're supporting Bahrain in really reevaluating its capabilities in relation to readiness for digital technology. Reskilling your people, which is number 4, is critical. We do not have time to wait because e-commerce has now shifted to a completely different level. And so finally, we need to act. And so that would be the new normal checklist that we would encourage and hopefully share some additional thoughts in the panel discussion. I hope I am within the time scales. Mr. Jalal, those were my kind of points on the e-commerce new normal.
Thank you very much, Christina, for the insightful information. Yes, indeed, disruption is a new normal. You raise a great concern as well. What do we do with our people with the new normal? I'm sure our audience have or will have a lot of questions with this concern, and they will be asking a lot of questions. So be with us during the panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker will be explaining the impact of COVID-19 on businesses and the change in customer behavior. He is the founder and the CEO of Kahwa 360 with more than 39 years of experience in the field of information technology, started an adventure or transformation into the world of coffee business, and started the manufacturing of instant specialty Arabic coffee. Please welcome our speaker who will talk about the future of B2C, the founder and CEO of Gava 360, Mr. Isam Hadi. Mr. Isam, floor is yours. Please note you have 15 minutes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Isam.
Hi, I'm on. Okay, thank you. It's really my pleasure to be here today. And basically, if I look at everything, let me share my presentation first. Share. Okay, everybody can see it? Good. All right. So basically, if I look at the whole thing today with discussion which happened, I was amazed with the technologies, with adaptation, with the changes. Even when we're talking about now, I think, believe me, we've been talking about for 13 years about change and adaptation and going 13 years. I don't want to say the COVID-19 was something, good, but in IT, it was good because in 6 months, it did things change, which we couldn't do it in 13 years. Anyway, so let's talk about the impact. Since I now we're going to talk about the e-commerce, let's see how that have impacted on the business itself and people. So I taken this word from somebody called Susan Mayer. She's actually one of the e-commerce bloggers. She said the COVID-19 global pandemic will likely be one of the defining events of 2020, and that it will have implication that will last into a decade, which means this thing which happened now doesn't mean it's going to be over. It's not like, 2021, we're over, khalas, we go back to norm. The norm is never going to be there. There is something we call today is the new norm, which is today we have. Now, what's happening to our customer? If I look at about customers itself, that's what's important for us. Customers are changing. Customer now, they actually have changed how they do things. Now they want and they need. Okay, they look at these now. It's not like what used to be a luxurious things to do. Customers have actually, when you go to malls now, although it's open, but there is no one there. Few people are there. They actually either doing exercise. I can see them in short and sneakers, so they are actually not buying. They just doing exercise. So they're no more doing for malls and supermarkets. They'll actually want e-commerce to do things for them much better. A lot of consumers at the moment now, they change the attitude of purchasing because of the pandemic, because of current uncertainty. They don't know what to do. So what they start to do is look at really what they want to buy and when to buy and how to buy. These are the impact have changed their life and the way they do things. Not only that, we used to have everybody cash and money, used to buy with a credit card. A lot now, they don't do that. They want actually cash it. They ask you, do you have benefit pay? Do you have card? Do you do Fawri? And that's what is happening today. Now, I've actually downloaded this from one of the Statistica. It looks at what is really happening today in the purchasing community. You will find that basically everybody buying medical things. I mean, sanitation, everything. These are the most important thing, but they buy house good, which is basically also cleaning things. So the things have changed from doing look at the fashion and jewelry. It's gone down. Nobody buying jewelry now. I know that a lot of people get married these days, but maybe they actually have to buy, but maybe some guys lucky they don't buy jewelry for that too. I like that. Okay, so that's the change in the transfer of people attitude of what they're doing today. So have impacted even in how we do things. I mean, I remember buying baby cares, baby beauties. Now they don't do just a talc powder, done, finish, over. So these are the changes in the thing. Okay, let's talk about Amazon. Amazon shows one of the traffic as how was last year and this year. Look at what happened to the world. People start to buy everything online. Things have totally changed. Of what they used to buy from supermarket, they went into the e-commerce. It's the norm now. People just buying. And you can see they started in March. And that was because a lot of their wording at that time saying, oh, it's dangerous to buy online. You cannot show there's a lot of risk there. The people were afraid to take risk to buy things online. With today, since there's a risk of life, I'm going to lose my life because being hospitalized. Let me at least take a risk of money, but not my life. Change, people have changed their way of thinking. My life is more important than my car, than my money. In that case, they have shifted to this. So now that's what happened when people start to take risk, go online and purchase things. And that's where the things have boom up to go so high in the purchasing. So that's even the change in the people mindset of how, what is risk for them, what's not risk. Now, I look at this. This is actually what's happened Bahrain. Now, in Bahrain, I've taken this basically from the Instagram of the CBB. They show you what has happened during this time. You will look at it. If you look at the Fawri Plus, Fawri Plus is one of the services that came up when Benefit Pay came up, is that how you can pay seamlessly from your transferring, whether you do it from your app, a mobile app, or from the banking online systems. You will notice that the Fawri Plus have increased by, what is that, 669%. 669% have increased, okay, in yearly. In the monthly, each month it was 2.23. That's a lot of change in the increasing itself. You will find that the Fawri is also increased. Now, Fawatir, people pay their bills now online. That's the way they do. They pull that. Now, this month they did not do, I think, because they were worried about what will be happening with there was an installment payment. So that's one of them. Okay, so let's look at the next one. The next one shows you exactly on the volume of ATM. If you look at the volume ATM here in August, July, things have actually, a lot of them have decreased. People is no longer going to ATM to take cash. They prefer to go Fawatir online to pay. This is the change of things had happened to people. It's no longer they would like to use the card and things. I'm a businessman. I used to have people paying by card or cash. Believe me, everybody said, do you have now Benefit Pay? Yes, I pay you. So that have changed the life of people how to do it. So that's the thing. Now, I think everybody knows this picture. Basically, this is what we have. We call it barrada in Arabic, or cold store, or grocery, or whatever, okay? This is the standard which people here, this guy will never accept two things. Either you pay cash or put it in the debt box. There is a box there, you have a notebook. This is how much at the end of the month he will run after you pay. That was the norm. Today, they have changed. Why? Because those people thought they're no longer going to be business for them. So they had to adapt and change. And I was amazed to see them that they immediately adapt something called Benefit Pay. I was amazed by seeing the paper, then they just a non-pay say, we use now Benefit Pay, you can do, and we deliver to your house on the guy with the bicycle and going to your house as neighborhood. So now you have even those shops as a grocery thing, they've changed. So the adaptation to change to come, it's must. Why? Because else your customers will not be there for you. These are the changes. So now transformation is the key for survivor. Those guys, in order for them to survive, to be against all everything, they had to change and adapt. And that's the key factor for every businesses, the survivor thing. Okay, now, new customer will stay after COVID-19? Yes, for sure. I'm sure of it, because now the luxurious and the fun of having that you stay at home, put your legs up, watching the TV, as the saying, the popcorn being utilized very highly here, okay? They would like to get everything by somebody ringing the bell. And most of the time, they even don't go to the door. Somebody else will open for them. That's what happened in my house, by the way. I'm always looking who's good. Whose order is there? Anyway, so this is what happened live, okay? So question is, what I said to every businesses, can you keep up? Have you changed? Are you willing to change? Are you ready to go there? Where do your steps and strategies? That's, I think, which is mixing up here, which is we find a lot of people still struggling, still doing it. And let's hope people will understand that and to go to the next step. I think that was the shortest Khaled presentation I did ever, right?
I can't disagree with you, Mr. Sam Hadi. Actually, shortest ever presentation you did.
I promised to do that, and I did it. Thank you very much.
You did it in 9 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Sam, for sharing your personal experience and your perspective for the future of B2C. I'm sure people might be thinking, what flavor of Arabic coffee to buy, when to buy, and how to buy it. And I'm sure you'll be helping us to know about it and how you can help people to buy using Fawri as well and increase the percentage like you're showing in your
This is the boost for me. It's always the qahwa, so which I can use anytime, and I have multiple colors. So guys, join me anytime. I'll be happy to show you. And we have tasting sun time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isam. A small note for our listeners. So dear audience, please be reminded that you can post your questions in the Q&A section so that we can take all your questions during the panel discussion. You can mention the name of the speaker if you want to ask your question to a particular speaker. Now, moving forward, it's time to invite our third speaker. He'll be enlightening us with the fact of e-commerce market is not only thriving, but it's expected that more than 95% of the purchases to be conducted via e-commerce by 2040. This shows how businesses will be e-centric. He is the marketing manager at Bin Hindi Group, Bin Hindi Informatics, who is into Samsung, Bin Hindi eZone, who's into mobile business, Kia Motors, 6at Rent a Car, and much more. Please welcome our speaker with a speech title, E-commerce Trends and Consumer Behavior, Mr. Ali Al-Hajari. Mr. Ali, the floor is yours. Please note you have 15 minutes for your speech.
Thank you, Khaled. Thank you very much. Thank you, Christina, and thank you, Sam, for the fruitful and beneficial presentations you delivered. Let me share my PowerPoint slides, and I would like you please to confirm if you can see it. Everybody is able to see? Thanks. So why talking about e-commerce today? Like what my colleagues and the speakers mentioned already, it's not the matter of change, because change is the only constant. E-commerce today is not only thriving, but it is expected to be around 95% of all purchases by 2040, 20 years from now. We don't want to be out of the people who are not performing in the market. The prediction goes for the retail e-commerce. It will reach this, by end of this year, by $4.13 trillion in 2020 globally. And that's why you see many of the huge and dominant retailers have shut down thousands and thousands of their outlets, of their physical outlets. You have a potential of 2 billion digital buyers in the world, and the sky is your limit. There are no boundaries. Bahrain is not your market. The Gulf is not your market. You can shop, you can target anybody, anywhere in the world if you're using e-commerce. But if we speak about the market size, Bahrain still shows a very promising number. According to Statista, Bahrain has the number 87 in terms of ranking, with $366 million per year when it comes to e-commerce spend. China is topping the list, with the United States coming the second. According to the same source, the average sales per user is $441 per day. So that's, given the small market of Bahrain, that is something really astonishing and surprising, where you can, of course, consider this potential if you are not in e-commerce. I don't think, like what Mr. Sam already mentioned, even now cold stores are considering to be on e-commerce somehow, using benefit pay, using WhatsApp sales. This is a type of online sales as well. So how this fact affected consumers' behavior? Sorry, Khaled?
If you don't mind, let me interrupt you. Can you run your slides on the slideshow mode? So it'll be more visible to the audience.
Okay, I'll do that. Sorry for that. Is it, just a second. So are you able to see the slide view? Yeah?
Yes, now it's yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry for that. Thank you, Khaled. So According to Digital Commerce 360, they made a survey that was before COVID-19 itself, yet the search showed that 61% of the participants, they don't compare shops on another website. So once they found your e-commerce site, once you're successful to attract them to your website, 60% of the people who are spending time on your website, they will not compare your products with your competitors. And that's a very good news for us if we are onto e-commerce. Like what Christina mentioned, if you're doing your homework for all the marketing communication, we'll touch base in a bit about social media, and tomorrow I can see the experts will also touch base on that. If you're successful to attract them and keep them on your website, they are in your shop and probably they will go for your products. Free shipping, also one of the vital factors that plays a decisive role for online shoppers. So many people say, if you don't have free shipping, they might not purchase from you. So you have, according to this statistics, you have around 28%. Most of the time, they will not buy because you're not offering free shipping. Once in a while, 23%, and all time, 17%. If you don't have free shipping, you're losing 17% of the people. And that's why, like again, Mr. Sam mentioned, you should also provide at least with bicycle or motorbike delivery. And that's what most of the restaurants, most of the retailers are doing. We found this at Bin Hindi also, and we're offering such free shipping, and it impacted our online sales very dramatically, and the sales went really high. Delivery time also, yes, if you're offering free shipping, consumers are considering how long are you able to deliver the products or the items. So you will see on the same day delivery, you will see retailers and many companies committing and promising that if we don't deliver it to you within 1 hour, you're going to get it for free, for example. That's just to dive in and to swim in this pool where they know the consumers is expecting a fast delivery time. People are more into their mobiles. That's where you need to consider e-commerce that fits mobile screens, and the challenges. Are you going to go for a mobile-friendly website, or are you going to go for a mobile application? And within the given time, we unfortunately will not be able to cover that, but you have to do your SWOT, your studies. What is the best fit for you? Is it okay to have only a mobile-friendly, or you should go for a mobile application? But definitely, the mobile is the platform. 51% of online shoppers, they conduct their purchases on their smartphones, and most of them, they would prefer to pay by credit card. So they don't want to do cash on delivery, and they also prefer to have credit card rather than debit card, by the way. Why people might reach to the end stage of the e-commerce, but they might abandon their shopping? Extra cost is too high. Again, it comes to the fact that if you don't have free shipping, so they might have added the items into the baskets, but because you're not offering free delivery, they might abandon the cart. They might not complete the transaction. Second comes the site wanted them to create an account. So people, because now everything is fast, they don't want to take time to register. They want to make the process easy and smooth for them. And that's where too long and too complicated checkout process will also contribute you losing the transaction from your prospects or customers. We will touch base on this because this is very important. Social media drives e-commerce sales. Around 40% of the retailers, they are using social media platform to generate sales. We do that at our company. So you don't have only to go to our website. You can use WhatsApp, you can use Facebook, and you can use Instagram, Twitter, whichever social media platform that you are in, and the sales executive will help you to complete the transaction. And that goes back to the concept of omni-channel. E-commerce shouldn't be a separated channel, but it should be integrated with all the other digital channels that you have, let it be social media, emails, websites, Google Ads, SEO, and all of that types. Online retailers that have at least one active social media make 32% more sales. So if you're having e-commerce, but you don't have social media supporting that, you're losing 32% of the sales. And that is quite interesting. Online, and that's what is shown in terms of breakdown of the respondents. There was a study done by eMarketer. It shows Generation Z from 14 to 24 years old customers can be on social media and can be your customers on e-commerce as well. So you have millennials as well to be targeted. You can find these people on, for example, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat. So easily you can put call to action from those platforms to your e-commerce, or even it's preferably and much better if they can complete the transaction right there. I hope I didn't exceed my time, and I'll leave the questions to the panelist session. And thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much, Ali. Indeed, you are within the time. In fact, today, all the speakers are within the time. Today is a very good day for all the audience and the speakers. Thank you very much, Strali, once again. Indeed, you said it very rightly. 2040, we definitely see a great transformation in e-commerce adoption rate, as we have seen the quick adoption rate with the spread of COVID-19 globally. It's all in front of us. And indeed, smartphones has made the commerce more handy and instant as well. That's how many people are not able to maintain the cash in the bank accounts, maybe. I'm sure many questions will come on that, but we'll be taking them during the panel discussion. Moving forward, last but not the least, we are inviting our final speaker of today. Before we start the panel discussion, which I'm sure most of you must be waiting for as well, our final speaker will be talking about how the shift happened from retail to e-commerce and the importance of contact center play in contactless world. Ultimately, building a brand loyalty, he will also talk about how the contact centers are evolving post-COVID-19. He is the regional sales manager for Middle East. MEO offers helps companies streamline the communication processes with customer across all the channels of communications like voice, email, social media, chat across website, mobile applications, and the list is unlimited. Please welcome our final speaker with the speech title, Customers are asking for digital engagement. Is your business listening? Is your business listening? Mr. Muhammad Amir, floor is yours. Please note you also have 15 minutes for your speech.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khaled. I would also like to thank Mr. Ali, Mr. Isam, and Ms. Christina. There's a great insight about what e-commerce is happening, what is happening in this industry. I would like to touch upon a different aspect of e-commerce, which is largely to do with customer experience. How important is the customer experience in this growth journey of e-commerce? And also, I would like to touch upon the importance of having a contact center or a digital contact center. This is the topics that I'm going to cover today. The importance of customer experience and engagement in particular. I would also touch upon the role of contact center technology, which is playing in this post-COVID era. Then I would also touch upon the importance of digital transformation for contact center industry. We're going to talk about a couple of use cases in retail and e-commerce. At the end, we're going to talk about how we are enabling companies go work from home and still maintain the customer experience they are providing. Right. To start with, as no everybody would agree, this is an industry, e-commerce as an industry. This is one of the fastest growing industry. So the change is inevitable. Everybody spoke about the change. The change is happening at a much faster rate in e-commerce than any other industry. One important aspect towards this change is when this change is happening, apologize. How are we reacting to this change and reaching out to our customers? See, contact center as a technology, it has always been looked upon as a cost center from the organization, right? But because of COVID, as I said, it's a boon or for the industry. Now, contact center industry is playing a centralized role in terms of customer engagement, be it on support side, service side, be it on the sales side or collection side, on largely on the B2B side of it. One more major aspect that, as you rightly said, the change you will see is you will stop hearing people saying, "Thank you for calling our contact center. How can I help you?" This is something that's going to change very near future, largely because of the data that would be made available to the people who are interacting with the end customer. Imagine an interaction happening, be it on a phone or a digital or a social media. The person who's managing this interaction knows anything and everything, a complete 360 view about the person he's speaking about, knows about who's this customer, what is his preference, what is his interaction has been, which channel he prefers to communicate, including details such as what is his overall satisfaction with my organization, what is his current moods. All these are basically boosted to the AI in the backend. One more very aspect which Mr. Ali as well covered in his presentation is on the social media side of it. Imagine this is a big nuisance for every e-commerce company, right? I'm unhappy customer and I'm going and I'm posting something on social media and I'm getting negative response. And anything happens between customer and the company on social media, it's there for everybody to see. So how do you contain this? How do you, one is how do you stop this? How do you respond to this? Second is there a way you can identify this is going to be a potential issue that going to be go online and create an issue for you? So we touch upon a social aspect as well. As important as contact center has been, going digital is become even more important. Especially this is the data that we have pulled out from our customer base in Middle East, where the interaction happening across contact center on voice is almost 30%. And you have email, which is close to about 28%. We have web chat about 16%. A lot of customers would prefer to reach out to you on WhatsApp. It's a very initial stage, but it already has about 12.5% market share. Also, we see people are experimenting with chatbots, voice bots, and other channels of social media. Um, so we talked about knowing the customer, the data, right? So for an example, I as a customer, Amir, calling a company, if they understand what the issue that I'm calling upon, the reason I'm calling, and my past interaction, uh, it will be much easy for the person who's managing this conversation to build a story and keep the customer satisfied. See, in a traditional retail industry, it's a face-to-face, a human-to-human interaction which happens, which builds a relationship. But how do you replicate that into a digital world, into a contactless world? And contact center is one of the areas where it will help you. Also, what's happening new in this industry? A remote contact center has been towards an upward trajectory, largely because there was a time where people cannot go to office, so we have a remote contact center. Later, organizations are realizing in a BPO kind of a scenario where there is a 15-20% of your cost is your real estate, your overheads, furniture, electricity, and you're able to save on that. There is a win-win situation for your organization as well as for the agents or the people who are managing this. We have seen that the agents who are interacting or taking this calls or chats from home, they would be able to better spend the time with the team, at home. Also, video contact center is also one of the need, and omni-channel engagement and bots. In fact, we recently launched a voice bot also. This is some of our customer using contact center in the Middle East, largely IKEA in Kuwait, Jordan, and Morocco. We have Fordil, we have Boutique Arts also from the Kuwait. As to end it, basically Amio is a customer experience platform. We have close to about 2,000 customers using Amio across 65 countries. Recently, because of COVID, we have made more than 100 businesses go work from home across 15 countries with about 50,000 agents taking interactions from home. That's it from my side. Any questions, I'll be happy to take.
Thank you very much, Mohammed Amir. Like all the other speakers, you're also on time. I think there's some kind of a planning among all you speakers, because almost everyone is taking the same time, unless we have given you more time, and we should be reducing your time in the future speeches.
Thank you.
We have come to the end of our speech sessions. Now it's time to take all the questions from our audience. I have received few questions, so let me put the question forward, and then I can ask for a volunteer. Now, first question comes in from our audience. He's talking about the economy is growing fast, digital transformation is happening, fintech is there, cash is reducing, e-payments are increasing, e-transactions are increasing. So what do you think of the risk of cybersecurity and exposure of the data in transition? This is talking about the security of transactions when you're doing e-commerce. Who wants to go for it?
Okay, let's answer this question in a perspective, specifically on the security side of it. This is something, a change that we have seen, not in this industry, but in a banking. Like for an example, if you are reaching out to a bank where the person who's managing this interaction has the details or a history, where you have information about the entire core banking solution. So what technology they have adopted is basically where you can have this interaction, you can have a middleware, third party, or a contact center like Amio, where we pull the data through an integration, show it to the customer and dispose it, show it to an agent and dispose it, post the interaction, and this is all PCI DSS compliant.
Can I answer?
Yeah, you can add on. You can add on, Mr. Sam.
Okay, I think it's back again the same thing we were talking about before. Whatever we do in the movement, the digital transformation, it doesn't run by itself. It has to run parallel with many other services that work with us. So cybersecurity, it's been there from day one as an important element that we will be able to use in order to do the e-commerce. So these are services, and with the currently plug-in and all these things are available, everyone or every company, the first thing they make sure is that it is secure or not. So those who actually don't do with cybersecurity, they don't have business at all because they lose it. So from that perspective, I believe, and I've seen it a lot, everybody actually using cybersecurity because they want to make sure that their customer will purchase from them and will continue purchasing from them and working with them. So that's very important, and that's working very well now at the moment. and so much as companies have adapted it. So I don't think there's so much worried about that, because if we start to get worried, we go again go the same old step. Today is that we're going forward with the risk management part of it, and security is part of it. And believe me, I have to say, even those guys, criminals, they are more smarter than us, and they're adapting everything a new way, and there is somebody else adapting to cancel that. So we cannot say it's 100% risk-free. There was always going to be a certain percentage of risk there. We hope that those cybersecurity companies are, all the time on to fix it. But there is nothing 100%. Let me be frank.
I would
I just want to add
agree with
also,
Mr. Assam. And in fact, because of COVID-19, now the risk is using cash. Um, I would also disagree with Christina. She was telling things don't convey COVID-19, but now the cash itself, because it's moving from one person to the other person, it might transfer the virus. So people are perceiving cash now as a risky payment method, and they would prefer to go with seamless e-wallets and seamless online payment. They would definitely, in Bahrain, if we're talking about Bahrain, ask about benefit payment, and you can see that with the charts that was shared by Mr. Assam, how it boomed and how it was boosted. I don't think from customers' perspective, there is still this perception. I think customers are more into online rather than doing cash. Like what I said also, as per the studies, they don't want to have cash on delivery. Most of customers now do want to have online payment.
Can I add a note on this? I'm not sure I actually mentioned any payment systems. I mentioned wallets have grown, so I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Ali. If I miscommunicated, please let me know. But what I do believe is important relating to this comment is what Mr. Assam said. If we go down the fear factor of cybersecurity, we are going to go backwards. Now, what's really interesting, and I think this is where we need the ecosystem to support the customer, and that means banks, merchant, payment providers, all the various players in the payment sphere need to reassure customers and even provide security that when they're paying online, their payment is secure. That's one of the things actually that in the early 2000s boosted the UK's e-commerce transition, if you like, because it was the banks who said any payment you make online with our credit card will be covered by us. So ultimately, at the end of the day, what I think we also need to consider here is, yes, the ecosystem needs to jump in and make sure that security is there. So it's a very valid point. But then on the other hand, we do need to have the payment providers and all the systems integrators involved in the processes to reassure consumers so that they do not have to even consider any risks.
Thank you very much. I think we end this questions here. Now, the next question comes in, is very interesting. Now, the question says, we have seen a normal life. Now, with the COVID, it's a new normal. What will happen if there is a new crisis in the future? How is your businesses ready for that? Or how businesses need to ready themselves for the future? I will again go with Mr. Assam, and then I'll ask all our speakers.
I think this is what I like about the whole thing, is that the COVID-19 is not just, it's going to be the final. I said that this is the new norm we live today, and companies has to be adapting and going growth. So changes will be always there. Today we do it, but I mean, I've seen now the virtual tag that even they use, the drone to deliver things, all these things. So changes will be there always. So what will be the successful, as what Ali said and others said, that a lot of companies have sold out or closed. Why? Because they were not able to adapt to the changes. Those who adapted to COVID-19 today, if they say, okay, I'm fine, ever stop, they will die again. No one will survive in this era. Point is, everyone have to be agile, have to be fast, have to adapt to changes all the time and go on. it will never stop. Technology comes everything with something new that makes us as a businesses more agile, more faster to be able to respond to the customer. And customer are so smart and think. If you look at the millennials people, the kids today, no one actually know what we were doing before. They use whatever technology and faster. So from that perspective, it's again back again. It's based on two things, that businesses has to immediately adapt. Anything comes all the time, not to wait, say, I'm okay. It's never going to be okay. And we believe COVID-19, it was the best example of what we're going to do and the future things. Now, that's what I look forward, future that we're going to be, and I'm up for it.
Can I also
Thank
follow
you
up on
very
this?
much.
Thank you very much. Can I follow up on this? Because I think this is perfect, a perfect moment to talk about startups and adapting or dying. One of the biggest challenges that us as a company have faced in the Middle East, having worked globally, is the mindset of, in order to be a fully fledged business, you need a license, you need offices, you need overheads, you need permanent staff, and all these things that actually fuel overheads. Now, when you're thinking about what kills a business, ultimately it's cash flow. So when things freeze up, which is one of your sales channels, for example, if your retail only freezes up and you don't have cash coming in, the business fails. So I think one of the great things to even think about with COVID-19 is the need to change slightly the fundamentals to running businesses in the region. Because today we can all be digital, we can all be agile, we can work from home, we've demonstrated, so why do we need the overheads? So that's my kind of call out to the region to reconsider what are those business fundamentals that you need today to run a business, because we're doing it right now, we're all doing it through the network.
I would like also to add, if you allow me, Khaled. Already Christina mentioned in her presentation, the only constant is the change. So that answers the question of the audience. And that has been always there. Charles Darwin said that back into 19th century, that it's not the strongest of the companies that survives, but it's the company that is most adaptable to change that will survive. So you should always expect incidents, you should always expect changes, and you should always adapt to that instead of resisting.
I would also like to add to Mr. Ali, change is always there. The change will happen irrespective of what. What Corona pandemic has done is it has just given a trigger. So it's all depends on how you prepare yourself, expecting something unexpected in future. That is what something that will keep you looking for new things.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad. Now, one question for Christina. Christina, you mentioned that what do we do with our people with this new normal? And the answer you've given in your slide, of course, training and so on. But what would be and how the industry is preparing themselves in terms of the time factor? You have the new norm, you want to train your people, but it takes time to train the people. Sometimes the trainings are not available or not adequate in the region. So what will be your advice as a consultant for them, for the organizations?
Oh, that's a great question. It's a shame we're about to finish the conversation, because we could go on for hours on just that topic. So it's more than just training, it's also the culture. So what we've learned with COVID is that it's down to people to make change happen quickly. And if you create an environment where people can adapt and feel that they're empowered to put forward changes that they see fit and they see best for the customers, that's one of the fastest ways to actually make change happen. If people feel that they've got a voice and they're part of that positive culture, that's number one. Number two, of course you need training, but training doesn't have to be the old style classroom based. It could be virtual, like we've done today, for example. We run loads of virtual trainings, boot camps, etc. So it's about the mindset. I keep going back to this because I do believe that in this region, and I love it, and I say this with ultimate extraordinary respect, there's a very much a, we have to do things in a very particular way, and training doesn't need to take a long time. It could happen on the job. And again, it is about building on an existing culture and living that culture. So an example would be in Singapore, an airline called Scoot. From one day to the next, it's a budget airline. But what they did was to not only make their customer services remote workers, which means they would have to have a system like Amiibo. And you didn't pay me to say this, Mohammed. But on the other hand, what they also did is that they empowered those customers to take not those the customers, the employees, so they're the contact center staff, to come up with solutions to resolve issues that were being vocalized on social media. So it's about building a culture where people can put forward their ideas in a very short space of time when actually you don't have much time to respond.
Thank you very much. With this, we have come to end of our track for Future of Commerce, the e-commerce new normal post-COVID-19. I'd like to thank you, Ms. Christina, Mr. Isam, Mr. Ali, Mr. Muhammad, for your time and the insightful information you have shared with our audience. Thank you very much. And with this, as your moderator for today, I would like to sign off. Wish you all the best. Stay safe. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you very much.